You know that feeling? You're scrolling through a website, you find something you absolutely love, and you click buy? We've all done it. And it feels like magic, right? It's instant. But behind that one little click, there's this huge invisible world that makes it all work. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and peek inside. So, what is actually going on back there? The moment you tap that button, you kick off this complex, perfectly choreographed dance of data and logic. And, understanding this dance is absolutely key to understanding the modern digital world, especially if you're the one hiring the people who build it.
Okay, let's dive in with a simple analogy. If you remember our last explainer on front-end engineering, we compared it to a restaurant's dining area. Everything you, the customer, can see and touch. While back-end engineering, that's the kitchen. It's where all the real magic happens, completely out of sight.
So let's push open those swinging doors and step right into the back end. This is the engine room of any app, where all the requests from the dining room get turned into reality.
Think about it. The kitchen is responsible for, well, everything. It takes the order, it cooks the food, it keeps track of all the ingredients, and it makes sure the right dish gets to the right table. The back end does the exact same thing, just with data. It really is the operational heart of the whole system.
Right. A kitchen is pretty useless without its ingredients and its staff. And in the back end, that means we need to talk about where all the data is stored and the folks who work with it. Let's meet the key players.
Every great restaurant needs a really well-stocked pantry, right? In the tech world, that pantry is the database. It's this massive, organized storage system for everything. User profiles, product info, order histories, you name it, it's in there. Without the database, the kitchen literally has nothing to cook with.
And who's using all those ingredients? The chef, of course. A back-end developer is a chef of our digital kitchen. They take the raw data from the database and use code as their recipes to create something useful, like, say, confirming your order or loading up your profile page.
And just like any good chef has their favorite knives and pans, a back-end developer has their toolkit. They use programming languages like Python or Java as their main cooking techniques. They use things called frameworks. Think of these as pre-made sauces or spice blends that help them build things way faster. And all of this runs on the kitchen's core equipment, servers and APIs.
I mean, a chef can't cook without a functioning kitchen, right? You need power, you need ovens, and you need a way for the waiters to get their orders back to the kitchen. So let's look at the infrastructure that actually powers our digital restaurant.
Servers are the heavy machinery of the kitchen. They're the ovens, the refrigerators, the main power grid that keeps everything running. In reality, they're powerful computers that execute code, process requests, and make sure the application is fast and reliable. A slow server is just like a weak oven. The food is going to take forever to get to the customer, and in the digital world, that means lost business.
So we have a dining room, the front end, and a kitchen, the back end. But how do they talk to each other? That brings us to something called the API, which stands for Application Programming Interface. A great way to think of it is this. The API is the invisible path between the waiter and the chef.
Here's exactly how it works. The waiter, that's our front end, takes your order. The API accesses the communication system, zipping that order securely from the dining room to the kitchen. The chef, our backend, gets the order and prepares the meal. And finally, the API carries that finished dish right back out to the waiter. It is the critical link that connects both sides of the restaurant.
So, what happens when a single restaurant becomes a massive success? Well, it has to grow, right? This is the whole concept of scaling, and it's super important for recruiters to understand because it defines the different roles and seniority levels you'll find in the back-end world.
This whole process is called scaling. A back-end for a small startup is like a cozy little neighborhood kitchen. But for a global company, think Netflix, it's like a worldwide chain of massive, industrial-sized kitchens, all working together to serve millions of customers at the exact same time. Making that happen without a single hiccup is a huge engineering challenge. Now, for anyone who's hiring, this distinction is absolutely crucial. A back-end developer is your chef. They're focused on expertly preparing individual dishes. In other words, coding specific features. But a back-end architect? That's your head chef. They aren't just cooking, they're designing the entire kitchen layout and the whole menu, making sure the entire operation runs at peak efficiency.
Okay, let's put it all together. We've met the staff, we've seen the equipment, now let's follow one single order all the way from the customer's click, through the kitchen, and right back to their table.
So here it is, the full journey, from start to finish. You click buy, the API, our waiter, zips that request to the back end. The developer's code, our chef, grabs your info from the database pantry. The server, our oven, processes the payment, and then finally, the API delivers that confirmation message. Order successful, right back to your screen. It's a totally seamless experience, all powered by the kitchen.
So the next time you're screening a candidate for a back-end role, remember you're not just talking about code. You're talking about the architects and the chefs of the digital world. And now you can ask the most important question: are they ready to run a small kitchen, or can they design an entire franchise to serve millions?